at a broad level, we're hearing three things from people. One is they have workloads that are latency sensitive. So this means if we had a cloud region literally everywhere, and in some cases even in not just major cities, but inside of like a, inside your facility, if AWS could do that, we could achieve the latency people wanted and you wouldn't need an outpost. But in a lot of other circumstances, you need single-digit millisecond latency, and we don't have a region or a local zone, and local zones are built on outposts. We don't have it near you, right? We don't have one in your house, my house, in your hospital, in your factory, and so forth. And so if you need that single-digit millisecond latency, you're stuck on-prem, right? It's just, until we solve the speed of light problem, which we're not working on apparently. Yeah. And it turns out it's like the weather, right? Everybody talks about it, but nobody's doing anything. So yeah. So those things we hear a lot, right? If you have a factory or a hospital, or you're doing, you're using a Wacom tablet to draw, like the milliseconds matter. So you need something on-prem because it's just the speed of light. The second thing was this local data processing. So here you're getting huge amounts of data being generated, and you want to process it before moving to the cloud. You don't need all that data in the cloud. You need the output of it, or the tokenized data, right? In the case of maybe PII or other things that you don't want to push to the cloud. So there's another example where, if you could wave a magic wand and have everything be free as you transfer data around and instantaneous, you wouldn't need on-premises. You wouldn't need a data center or a colo, but you do. So a lot of local data processing, right? Autonomous vehicle use cases, medical imaging, that sort of thing. And then going back to the slides here, the third one is a broad category called data residency. And this is either because there's a government regulation or a contract, or it's just your business requirements that dictate data and infrastructure, so compute and storage, they reside in a specific country or municipality or city or facility. Those are the three general use cases that are guiding us. There's another one that I didn't mention, which is just some people just prefer it. And one of the hallmarks of AWS is we give people a choice, right? We try not to be paternalistic about how you have to do something. You can do things using our infrastructure, our managed services, third-party managed services. You can build everything yourself. You can use bare metal instances, all the different kinds of instances, different kinds of storage, object, block, file. And so Outposts for some customers is really just, hey, we plan maybe in the fullness of time that everything will go to the cloud, but that's 20 years from now, right? We have a mainframe, or we have some other corporate reason to be in a bunch of data centers. And so Outposts fits into that world.
Use cases really tie into the storage story. So let's talk about that for a second. So, when you're talking about on-prem storage, what we're talking about is scalable storage. You've got a certain amount of S3 unstructured data storage within your Outpost rack. I think the limit is something just short of 100 terabytes. What we're in the business of is allowing you to scale beyond that up to multiple petabytes if you wish. What are some of the use cases you see that drive the need for additional on-prem storage?
No, that's it. Let's keep this slide up here because I think there's a lot going on here. So as you mentioned, right now on Outpost you can order both your EBS, your block storage, and S3, which is object storage, in chunks up to about 100 terabytes, which is a lot for some people if they don't have, but is not a lot for people who need petabytes or exabytes. So where we start hearing that is, again, it's kind of all over the map. So you have telcos running their virtual network functions, like generating at what they call the CU, or the central unit, as opposed to all the way at the far edge. Or you have content production. I mentioned this media and entertainment, right? Doing visual effects. You watch movies. I remember back when we could go to the movie theaters. I hear that starting up again. So all of those things generate just exabytes, and you don't want to transfer that back and forth to the cloud, right? You need on-prem storage, and you need somebody like a Cloudian, right? Who right now what we've decided to focus on with Outposts, right, is this smaller set of things that we do. And Cloudian has the perfect solution here for when you need petabytes or exabytes of high performance storage. Same thing is true in financial services, right? Where you have these huge, risk analysis grids, or there's this new regulation called, if I remember correctly, FRTB, Fundamental Review of Trading Books, which is another form of risk analysis that evolved after the 2008, 2009 financial crisis. People are looking for, how they can do this highly scalable analysis with, 50,000, 100,000 cores and spin it up and down. And they're doing some of it in the cloud, right, in our regions, but some of it on-prem for a bunch of different reasons, right, these huge conglomerates. You've got healthcare and life sciences. I think this is a huge emerging area where people are looking to modernize what they do and bring all of that cloud goodness to the locations around the world in some cases. And again, that requires, if you're doing medical images and you're looking at it, you're trying to generate these super high resolution images for radiology and MRIs, which is enabling new kinds of patient care. That requires just a massive amount of unstructured data. Transportation is a big area that, again, is evolving. You think of autonomous vehicles, fleet management, doing recommendations. A lot of that is you want to do it in real time at the 5G edge, or in these things that they call garages, which sounds kind of low end. I have a garage, but these are really essentially data centers where the vehicles come back every night and get new algorithms kind of pushed to them. And the last, and obviously Amazon's in this business too, industrial automation, right, where the robots in the warehouse are doing things and collecting enormous amounts of data from IoT sensors. So, it's probably not limited to all these things, but in the last year, I've been very excited or overwhelmed. I don't know what their case is, but kind of amazed maybe by how much data people say they're generating, either on-prem or in cities or at the 5G edge, and how many of them are thinking about moving to object stores, right? Which is pretty common in the cloud, right? S3 has been around 15 years. Lots of people use it. It's a little bit less common on-prem historically, right? People use block and file storage, or they're a little more familiar with it. But again, with Outposts and Cloudian, what we hear a lot of is people saying, hey, how do I bring that unstructured exabyte scale storage into these kind of use cases? And so, now we can solve that problem.
So we offer now, Cloudian for AWS Outposts, which is, exabyte scalable S3 compatible storage that resides right alongside the Outposts in your data center. And this can be either on appliances or software-defined storage on the servers of your choice. So you don't need to use our specific hardware. You can use the hardware that you choose. But the point is, either way, it's in your data center, co-located with the Outpost, so you get that low latency access. And really, the drivers for this are exactly the things that you just said. So, data residency. The data stays in your data center. When it goes from the Outpost to the Cloudian device, that's where it goes. It's not getting replicated elsewhere unless you want it to. You have the ability to replicate it elsewhere. You can use tiering to tier it off to the cloud or to Cloudian at a remote location, but that's configurable. If you want it to just stay in that one place, that's where it is. And then the other piece of this is it works with all of your S3 compatible applications. So exactly what you were just talking about, Joshua, the portability between on-prem and cloud is key, right? The ability to do the same thing in either place. That's what we enable because the S3 compatibility is built in. So some of the use cases for this are exactly the same use cases that you just described. So healthcare and life sciences, up to an exabyte of storage available in your data center means you've got all the room you need, either for health records or for imaging or for genomic research. Those are some of the big drivers of capacity. Big data and analytics. People are collecting massive amounts of information either with Amazon EMR, Splunk, Elasticsearch. All of that needs a place to go. And if you need it on-prem, you've got a scalable environment. M&E environments, same thing. Huge, collections of media files. Often people want to keep those media files in a very controlled environment because that is their lifeblood. They want the security is paramount on those, and also fast access is paramount. So having those on-prem for an M&E workload is key. And then you mentioned earlier public sector. Cloudian has the broadest array of security certifications of any storage supplier and object storage. And we offer a feature called Object Lock, which is also available on S3, but that gives you immutable storage in your data center. So your data is protected from encryption by ransomware. Ransomware has been a huge issue for the past year and a half, as we all know. And I think the ability to protect that data in your own data center using object lock functionality is very attractive to a lot of folks, both in the public sector and in private as well.